When the dust settled on the 2025 quarterback carousel in free agency, it initially seemed as though the Pittsburgh Steelers had quietly found a workable solution to their quarterback vacancy. If not by design, then certainly by default. The situation wasn't ideal, but given the volatility of the market and the rapid pace at which the top signal callers came off the board, Pittsburgh found itself in a corner. A team that had lost 2 quarterbacks in the same offseason couldn't afford to be picky. The Steelers entered the 2025 offseason expecting clarity at the most important position in football. What they got instead was chaos. First, Russell Wilson, who started multiple games for the Steelers in 2024, opted to sign with the New York Giants, accepting a 2-year deal to compete in the NFC East. Then, Justin Fields, who many believed had a chance to be the long-term answer in Pittsburgh, stunned fans and insiders alike by signing with the New York Jets. Fields' move made headlines not just for the destination, but for the message it sent. Pittsburgh was no longer seen as a guaranteed destination for young quarterbacks seeking development and opportunity. These departures left the Steelers with a gaping hole under center. The only familiar face returning to the quarterback room was Mason Rudolph, re-signed after a brief stint with the Tennessee Titans. While Rudolph brings knowledge of the playbook and continuity within the organization, few would argue that he represents a firm starting caliber solution. He has been serviceable in stretches but never consistent enough to silence the critics or secure the job outright. Behind him on the depth chart is Skylar Thompson, a developmental quarterback with limited starting experience and questionable upside as a long-term contributor. With the top-tier free agents already committed elsewhere and limited options on the open market, all eyes turn toward the only available star left, Aaron Rodgers. The veteran quarterback, coming off a missed 2024 season due to injury and a brief, turbulent tenure with the New York Jets, had yet to make a decision on his football future. But given the connections between Rodgers and the Steelers, including his admiration for head coach Mike Tomlin and the opportunity to play with a young, explosive offense, many believed it was only a matter of time before he donned black and gold. That belief was challenged this week when Rodgers appeared on the Pat McAfee show and dropped a bombshell. The 41-year-old quarterback, while healthy and still working out, admitted that he was not ready to commit to any decision about his NFL future. Retirement remained on the table, as did a return to football, but Rodgers gave no timeline, no clear direction, and certainly no assurances to the teams pursuing him. That moment may have been the tipping point for Pittsburgh. Waiting on Rodgers had already cost them opportunities earlier in the offseason. To remain on the sidelines any longer, hoping for a decision that might never come, would risk entering the 2025 season unprepared at the most vital position. With Rudolph and Thompson as their only options, the Steelers now appear poised to pivot, putting their full attention toward the 2025 NFL Draft as their clearest and most immediate path to finding an answer. Enter ESPN analysts Field Yates and Mel Kiper Jr., who this week released a combined mock draft that provided a potential solution to Pittsburgh's quarterback dilemma. In their 3-round projection, the Steelers are predicted to make an aggressive move in round 3, trading up from the number 83 overall pick to number 68 in a deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. The purpose of the move: select Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. The selection, if it materializes, would represent a bold swing. Milroe, once a polarizing figure early in his college career, has turned heads over the last 12 months. He emerged in the 2024 college season as one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the nation. At Alabama, he showcased a rare blend of physicality, speed, and raw arm talent. His ability to escape pressure, extend plays with his legs, and launch deep passes downfield made him a nightmare for defensive coordinators and a highlight machine on Saturdays. For Yates and Kiper, the justification is clear. They should draft a quarterback for the long term, but they might need to draft a quarterback for the short term, too, the duo explained. Milroe has the arm to hit DK Metcalf and George Pickens downfield, and he can take off as a runner when he gets an opening. In other words, Milroe offers immediate versatility and long-term potential. His skill set fits the mold of modern NFL quarterbacks: athletic, dual-threat playmakers capable of turning broken plays into big gains. The comparison some have made is to Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, though Milroe remains less polished as a passer than either player was entering the league. Still, the opportunity for Pittsburgh to add a player of Milroe's caliber in the third round, especially in a quarterback-thin draft class, would be difficult to pass up. The Steelers are in a unique position. Their roster is largely competitive across the board. With strong units at wide receiver, running back, and on defense, Pittsburgh can afford to spend a high-value pick on a quarterback without neglecting other key areas of need. This organizational stability gives the Steelers a level of freedom on day 2 of the draft that not all teams enjoy. Instead of reaching for a quarterback in the first round, they can address a more immediate need early, perhaps adding to their offensive line or bolstering their secondary, and circle back to a quarterback in the third, using that pick to take a calculated risk on a high-upside player like Milroe. Of course, selecting Milroe would come with the expectation that he competes for the starting role, sooner rather than later. Beating out Mason Rudolph in training camp would be the first major hurdle. It's not a given, but it's also not out of the question. While Rudolph is familiar with the team's offensive system and has earned the respect of the locker room, his ceiling as a quarterback is well established. He's steady but unspectacular. Milroe, on the other hand, represents the unknown, and potentially the spectacular. If Milroe can show flashes of progress in preseason action and training camp, the Steelers might not hesitate to give him the reins. The fan base, eager for a new face at quarterback, would likely rally behind the move. The locker room, full of playmakers on both sides of the ball, would respect the decision, particularly if it injects new energy into the offense. All of this, of course, is made possible by the continued standstill in Rodgers' decision. Had the veteran quarterback signed in March or early April, the Steelers might have committed to a win-now strategy with an experienced signal caller. But the longer Rodgers stays on the fence, the more appealing it becomes for Pittsburgh to take matters into their own hands. The clock is ticking, and with every passing day, the draft looms larger. It's becoming increasingly clear that the Steelers no longer view the Rodgers waiting game as a wise strategy. The risk of entering the 2025 season without a young quarterback in development is too great. And with Milroe projected to go somewhere between picks 60 and 85, Pittsburgh may need to act fast if they want to secure him. This is where the proposed trade with the Raiders becomes so crucial. Moving up to number 68 would give the Steelers a chance to jump other quarterback-needy teams or surprise suitors looking to draft a developmental passer. It's not just about selecting Milroe, it's about seizing control of their future. Milroe, for his part, has embraced the spotlight. He's spoken confidently during interviews, praising Alabama for helping him grow as both a quarterback and a leader. He's acknowledged that he still has room to improve, particularly in terms of reading defenses and maintaining consistent accuracy, but he believes he's ready for the challenge of the NFL. "I'm a competitor," Milroe said during a recent media availability. "I know I can make plays, and I'm excited for the opportunity to prove that at the next level. I just want a chance to show what I can do." That chance might come in Pittsburgh. Whether it's a trade up the board or simply a matter of staying patient and letting the draft unfold, the Steelers have put themselves in a position where the most important decision of their offseason might still lie ahead. Do they trust Rudolph and hope Rodgers changes his mind? Or do they take a leap of faith and draft a quarterback like Milroe who might not be ready on day one, but could become the face of the franchise for years to come? Given the current landscape, the answer seems to be shifting more and more toward the latter. And as April 24th draws near, don't be surprised if Pittsburgh makes a bold move to turn the page and finally begin writing the next chapter of Steelers football.